Now, when we're talking about definitive Pokemon style tournaments, you must talk about VGC because that is the only Pokemon company sponsored tournaments. You can't say VGC isn't actual tournament. It's sponsored by Pokemon, controlled by them. They come up with their own set of rules and their own way of tournament style. Smogon, they have their own tournaments, but again, you can't say that those are actual like complete tournaments. They're community fan based tournaments with their own different rules, and they're wacky. This tier tournament only singles, and you can only use this Pokemon and whatever. But the definitive Pokemon tournament is VGC. This is where you get the most prizes from. This one has the most attention around the time of the year that's happening. Now, I won't talk about TCG. The TCG, those players, I would have to research them more, but we talked about the video game a lot, so let's talk about the video game championships. And to me, one person will come to my mind as the best. Hands down, right now, back then, still is, probably always will be. That is Ray Rizzo. That person, he is the true Pokemon master. For at least video games. As I said about TCG, there could be that one person I don't know about who's always won TCG and just won everything. Now, what Ray Rizzo has done, if you guys don't already know, it's kind of hard for people to not know who he is, but he went on a 3 world championship run. He won world championships 3 years in a row. One at 17 in 2010 in the senior division. He won that world championship. The next year following in Masters, he won 2011 and in 2012. So he won the world championships in 3 years. You were the world champion for 3 years in a row. So for all those 3 years, people were just gunning for that guy. They were trying to beat him every year, and they could not do it for those 3 years. So you had to be feeling pretty good for that really good amount of time, and it wasn't easy to do that. To win one Worlds, even to make it is hard enough, but he won it 3 times in a row. He also placed 26 in the 2013 Worlds, which is pretty good considering this is a game based on luck, so things might have happened. Most of the matches he probably wasn't feeling good. Maybe someone had that better day, better edge. And in this past year, he got top 8 at Nationals, which, that's also very good to stay consistent like that. And that's really what he's always kept is consistency. He's never won at Nationals, which is funny to know since he's won 3 world championships. This past Worlds in 2014, he did get 56th place, which is bottom of the barrel. But again, that could be based off of just, bad luck. Maybe just didn't bring the right team or anything like that. Now, one thing that really jumps out at me is his style of play. Before 2012, 2010, 2011, you weren't allowed to write on a piece of paper or take any notes down. But he was really good at having that great memory dynamic. He really knew what that person is always going to bring. He just had everything going in his head. He knew what decisions to make. He knew how to read the opponent perfectly. He got in that guy's head. He knew what to do before they would even do it. And he would make the best predictions, best calls. Never really afraid to make the questionable moves, and they would always work out for him, which is crazy. He was never afraid to sub out Pokemon. If he was gonna, let a Pokemon die, they had to earn it. There was never a time where that other person, the opponent, would get an easy kill. That was not him. Even if that Pokemon was lower status, he would switch him out if that was what the situation called for. And there are a lot of situations you would have to go through and think of all the plays and think about, oh man, what's going to happen? He could do this, that could happen. And in doubles, it is really strategic because you have 4 Pokemon at a time, and those Pokemon, there's about 13 different moves that could happen in a turn, which is incredible to even think ahead 2 turns. He would think ahead at least 4 turns in the beginning, from the beginning to end, like what was going to happen in a match. He was very innovative. People always would say, "Oh man, what do you think he's going to bring?" I don't know. Like he brought Wigglytuff in the Nationals and did very well with it. In this past VGC Nationals, he brought a Zapdos, and no one brought Zapdos at all. The Pokemon's usage for Wigglytuff and Zapdos were under 5%. Everyone was bringing the Kangaskhans. They were bringing the Politoads for Raiden. They were bringing the Mega Mawwiles, but he brought Zapdoses. He brought Wigglytuffs. That was his innovative style. And the funny thing about VGC, when I play Yu-Gi-Oh myself, and I was really competitive, and I've been to big tournaments. And one thing that you can compare from VGC and regular big Yu-Gi-Oh tournaments, no one really talked about what they were playing in Yu-Gi-Oh, which is really funny because if that one person said something, "Oh, I'm running this new card," no one would say anything because then people would be ready for it. They would change up their decks right before the match. And a lot of times, people in VGC would make the mistake, "Oh yeah, I'm going to bring this Audino." No one's really thought about it. I'm going to bring it. I got a really cool strategy for it. So people would really just, defeat themselves just by talking too much before the actual match starts. So people ready for it. But Ray Rizzo, he never talked about it. He just said, "Oh, I just brought something I liked. I thought about it. I put a lot of time into it. This is what I got." And that's the one mistake you would never make. You never show your hand before a battle starts. Now, going to the 2011 World Championships, he pretty much swept the whole series, all 3 games, with just a Thundurus and a Hydreigon. He just got through Game 3, winning the whole Worlds with those 2 Pokemon. Just the guy, opponents just couldn't stop them. He knew what to do, how to play them. And he always had different styles of play on just one team. He would bring a Sandstorm and a Trick Room team in the same 6 Pokemon. And not a lot of people did that. In that meta back in 2011-12, it was all heavy offensive Tornaduses, Terrakions, Thunderuses. They were all just really just balls to the wall. You're attacking, and then that's it. But he would bring different styles of teams in the same team, so no one really knew what he was going to bring before that happened. He swept his 2-0 match in the 2012 World Championships. He just got perfect reads, perfect everything. It was great. It never mattered who he played. He beat the same guy twice in 2 years in both one World Finals and another World's semifinals, I believe. I would have to go back and check. So there were all these different. He would see the same people over and over again because they would go back to Worlds and try to beat him again, and he would just see them. "Oh, I already know how this guy thinks. I already know what I'm going to do," and then done. Now, I might be saying this a bit early, considering since VGC just started in 2009 from Pokemon Platinum. That was the first VGC tournament that was held from Pokemon and then onward. And we're only in 2014. Next year will be 2015. So we have a lot of time for people to make a name for themselves. Sejun Park, he has been at the top spots at Worlds many, many times in the past. Almost every time he's been just as consistent. He's probably the second best player. Maybe Sejun Park wins another World Championship next year after winning this past year. He could probably overtake Ray Rizzo, but it's going to be really hard to take 3 World Championships in a row alone, let alone 2 maybe. I don't know how hard it is for people to go back into nationals, but to repeat winning a Worlds, that is something that hasn't been done. People try to do it, but they just can't. But Ray Rizzo is the guy that won 3 in a row, and I think that's just going to be completely cemented in Pokemon history. No one will ever do it, at least not anytime soon.